I'm still here with Gigi Gladys Bennett. Isn't she beautiful? She's only 85 years young. But her daughter says she's 32 for life. I like that. Listen, she's the author of Summer in the Sun. And we were just talking about your experience out there in the desert. Okay, let's talk about. And by the way, there's some beautiful photos. I don't know if you can see these, but these are some beautiful photos in your book. Let's talk about Strange Visitor.
Okay.
You wrote about a strange visitor in your book. What was that about?
Well, we had run out of groceries and things were pretty tough. And I didn't know what I was going to do anymore. And there was a knock on the door. I had taken the smallest one and laid down on the bed. And we fell asleep, and as I was praying to the Lord for help. And we fell asleep, and I heard a knock at the door. And I thought I was dreaming, but it was a knock again. So holding the baby, I went and answered the door, and there was a man standing there, and he said he had been out on the desert, and he had car trouble, and he wondered if my husband could help him out. I said, well, he isn't here right now, but the car is sitting over there. Don't run. If you can get it to run, you can take it. I did this because he was standing there with double holsters.
Wow.
And I was a woman alone with all these kids, and I was afraid something was going to happen, so I would have given him practically anything. And when my husband came home the last time, he left the car, he said, for my use. But he left it because it wouldn't run. And his boss, friend, whatever he was, came and got him. I'm losing track. Well, anyway, he took the car, he went to the car and he got it started, and I was surprised. And he took it and went and got his car parts. And when he came back, I asked him if he could tell me where I could get some water and which way town was. And he looked shocked, and he says, I'll go get you some water. He went and got the water, and he came back with 2 great big steaks. Steaks, not snakes. And then he left. I never saw him again. But by this time, I had a car now. And also what happened after he left with the car is I used to always hide money all over the house so that when my husband was gone, I would have something. And I had searched, and I didn't find anything, any place. But now the baby that couldn't use his arms used his feet, and he had moved over to the bookcase, and with his feet he picked up a book. And he held it up, and when he did, 2 $20 bills fell out.
Wow.
That's a God thing.
That's a God thing.
That's a God thing. And so was the stranger. And anyway, I got pretty excited when I saw that. And we made up a grocery list and got cleaned up and went to town and got groceries. If the stranger hadn't been there, we probably would have starved.
That is that's an amazing story. That's an amazing story. What about, let's see, what about, okay, search for water, then we have, desert angels?
Oh, yeah. Again, we had reached the point where we had nothing. And I went outside like I usually do after the kids were in bed. I went outside under the stars. The one thing about the desert, the sky is so beautiful at night. There's millions and millions of stars that you can't see when you're in town.
Wow.
And I went out there and I was praying, and I started singing and dancing and twirling under the sky. And the next day, I found where the school bus stop was, and I took the kids to the school bus stop. And after I came home, a car came driving out, and it was just like a wagon trail going to where we were. It wasn't a regular highway or road of any kind. It was a trail. And this car came, and I was watching it. It was fascinating to see a car out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it stopped in front of where we lived. And I saw Mike and Clorinda in there, and I thought something is happening. I went out towards them, and this older lady got out and introduced herself, and it turned out that the kids were sitting on the corner bus stop, and she was wondering where they came from because there was nobody out here. And she finally did some investigation and determined that I didn't know that there was no school that day. There was some kind of a teacher's conference.
Oh, wow.
And so she took them home, but the kids did not want to go with her at first because they said, Mom said I can't go with anybody. I have to go either wait for the bus or wait for Mom. Well, her name is Edith Herndon, and she convinced the kids that she was going to take them home. And as they gave her directions, she kept thinking they was wrong. There was nobody living out here. But she came in and introduced herself and said that she would be back soon. She came back the next day with Hazel Eichmeyer. And Hazel said, Edith told me your story, but I want to hear it from you. And they asked me so many questions, just direct questions, that I couldn't talk around them. I had to give direct answers. Mm-hmm. And after I was done, then Hazel said, we've got a house alongside of our house. You get everything packed and we'll be here Monday to move you.
Oh my God.
So I said, but I don't have money for rent. She said, you don't need to worry about that. You just get everything packed. So I got everything packed, and we were so excited about getting off the desert. And as Hazel and Edith came back, their husbands came back with them, and they had a truck. The guys drove the truck, and the women were in a car. And we were in the process of loading things up when the kids started yelling, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy's here. And all of us were just shocked. I turned around and saw him. Neither one of us said a word, and I was afraid he was going to stop the move. I didn't know what he would do because he's got a bad temper. And anyway, Ed and Lester looked at each other for a minute, and then Lester just nodded his head like they were going to continue with the loading, which they did. And my husband stood there and watched for a while, and then quietly he started to help. Anyway,
wow.
I looked at them as the desert angels that came to my rescue. And after everything was all loaded, they drove away, and I don't know, they drove away, and I got the kids all in the car, and then after I got them all in the car, I got it in on the driver's side, and as I was getting in, I looked back at where we had lived, and it looked so deserted already.
Wow.
And as I drove away, I just thought that's the last of my summer in the sun.
Wow. Listen, don't go anywhere. There's more to come. Oh, wow, with this story. Listen, stick around to hear the rest of it. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.